Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us this week for Politically Incorrect Knitters. It's a little different because I am not home. If you can't tell, there's palm tree over my shoulder. So this week, Ann and I are going to talk about stuff. Ann is going to know a lot more because, like I said, there's a palm tree over my shoulder, which means I have not been watching the news. Although I hear it's pretty freaking terrifying. So, yeah, we're going to let Ann fill you in on that, and we're going to talk some other stuff. And, thanks for joining us. I'm Deplorable Knitter. That lovely lady is Ann Pinkova, and here we are.
And our lovely sponsor, who is in the chat, is Chicken Lady Fiber Arts. And you can use our code PIK Valentine 20 for 20% off your order for the month of February. It's February now.
Yeah.
And wait, I grabbed some for yarn. Where'd it go? Anyways, her yarn is lovely. And haha. Because after all, losing it, St. Patrick's Day is coming up. So lovely green yarns. And she has some new green yarns coming out that she sort of teased today on her Instagram. And you can also see them on her newsletter if you sign up. Yes. And that is, again, chickenladyfiberarts.com and PIK Valentine 20. So there you go.
Yes. Beautiful yarns for beautiful people.
That's right.
Sorry, I think my lighting's a little weird. Sorry, guys. It is what it is at this point. Ann and I had a rough time getting going. My headset wouldn't work. It is what it is. We're flying by the seat of our pants this morning. So have you been knitting much lately?
I have been. I've been putting on the collar on my Comfort Fade cardigan, which is just a mess of knitting because it's all up in a half Nelson as the collar is put on. Yeah. So that'll be more fun to show up once it's actually finished. But otherwise, I finished trying to her Instagram handle is Athena Forbes, but I'm trying to think. It is
Knits and Knacks.
Right, it's her website.
Yes.
Yep. I finished her We the Fringe beanie, and there's all sorts of maple leaves and stuff. So yeah, nice. That's a free pattern, and that's really cool. And you can she also has in like True North, Strong and Free, and other stuff like that.
Yeah, my version of that hat says We the Fringe on one side and Strong and Free on the other. So, but I don't have mine. It's at home. Sorry, guys.
That's right. You wouldn't need it,
I don't need it. I'm hot sitting here, so.
But yeah, it's a really good pattern. So check that out if you're interested.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not sure about the pom-pom though. I'm not really a pom-pom person. And this one kind of like
secure it a little better, Ann.
Yeah.
When they do that to me, I like go through the meat of them, and then that makes it, better.
Yeah, this one has kind of a long elastic on it. I'm like, I'm not sure how I feel about that.
Just tie it right on the whole thing. Forget the elastic.
I'll have to, because like I said, I was like, oh, she had a pom-pom, so I have one. I'm like, I'm not so sure.
Yeah.
Anyways, but also I'm still working on the Canadian beanie because I don't know, among other things, I have a big head. So I'm like, of course everybody wants a big hat pattern. It's like, maybe they don't though. So yeah.
If you make it to fit you with a bit larger head, it works because it can be like one size adult. It's a little slouchy on the smaller heads. It's a little bit bigger. It's a little bit fitted on the bigger head, so it's fine.
Right.
You talk. One of my kids keeps coming up to the door, so you just tell us about your hat.
Okay. But anyways, so yeah, I'm working on it. That I don't know, just ironing stuff out, trying to get it going for other sizes. Apparently it works pretty well in DK weight too for smaller heads, so that's fine. And because I always do the thing where I just like micro adjust everything, but I also did a beanie version this week, so I think that will be cool.
I like it. So you use the Tweety yarn.
The gray version.
Yep, with Tweety yarn.
Mm-hmm. Of course. It's actually left over from the Betsy Ross kits that I had.
Very nice.
But, love me some tweed.
And it looks really nice in that pattern too, because it still has the feel of the Canadian thing, but it's a little, it's a little different. It's like when I do like a patriotic hat with colors that aren't quite like bright blue and bright red. Like it gives it a little different feel, which is nice.
Right, it's a little more kind of muted and vintagey. I mean, especially if you stick the two together.
Yeah.
Like this one then looks slightly dingy, but it's nice.
Yeah, it's cool.
But yeah, that's what I've been working on. Like I said, the beret is the 4th Canadian hat I've made, so I think
it's pretty
getting
set now, right?
to an end here.
Yeah, that's cool.
But yeah, I have some lovely test knitters, and they've been going back and forth with me about it. So yeah,
I love my test knitters. It's such a, So, like I mentioned, I'm in Florida. See my, where is it? Right here. See my palm tree.
Right.
So we drove down. It took us 2 days. So we've been here since we got here Sunday night. But my littlest had a head cold before we left. So now my older one and I have had a head cold. So therefore the knitting time has been really reduced because we've been doing a lot of fun stuff during the day. We don't feel that bad, but at night I've been going to bed when the kids do. Cause I just like, today's the first day I woke up and I had no voice for 2 days when I woke up. Like I had to like get it going. So I'm working on something, but unfortunately it's this. So I can't show it to you because it's a brim. I know everybody's surprised I'm making a hat, but yes. And earlier while you were speaking, Lynn asked me if this is a beer, and it sure is. In my defense though, it's 11:24 here. So it's almost lunchtime. Oh, and I'm on vacation. And the only exciting thing we're doing today is going inside the pool and grilling. So we're good. Don't worry, people.
That was awesome.
And because we're off, we haven't really done school, but I did get a little activity for my kids to do for President's Day. And so I got these, let me cover up their name. I got these little books off of Teachers Pay Teachers. It's a free activity about presidents. And it goes through and it talks about why we celebrate President's Day. And then, here's George Washington. And look, here's Donald Trump. Let me get him in there. See, we colored Donald Trump real nice. And then people are going to be like, oh, she brainwashes her kids, okay? And it's not true. We talk about things with them like they're people, and we talk about, why we enjoyed the Donald Trump presidency, and we're talking about why, in general, we aren't enjoying Joe Biden. So I don't know if you can see it, but here's Joe Biden, and my kid wrote failure.
Wow. Some hot takes there.
And I was dying because, like I've explained that we don't like him. We don't, like today when we were talking about like, Donald Trump was for the people. The stuff he was doing was to make everybody's lives better. And the stuff that Joe Biden is doing is to make his son's life better and his life and maybe some of his buddies. And they don't care about the rest of us. And so on their own, my kids came up with wanting to do that to Joe Biden, putting the X through him and writing failure. And I thought it was hysterical. But, we just try to talk to them about stuff, and it's your job to indoctrinate your children. Yeah, but I don't ever want to be the parent that says, you believe this because I believe this. I want to explain it so that it makes sense, so that they understand why we believe what we believe and why it's important, or why something may not be as important. There are different things that some matter more than others, and so I try to explain it. But my 6-year-old's going to be president someday. So don't worry, guys. In another 20 years or so, we'll be good. They could have written in former Vice President Joe Biden. It did say that he was Barack Obama's vice president also. And it said that he's trying to create jobs and create unity. And then that gave us an opportunity to talk about, is he really doing this? From the things we see. So I liked it. I thought it was a great activity, and it was free. So that was fun. Yeah. So. But yeah, no. What, Ann?
Well, he does certainly talk a lot about unity and then say winter of severe illness and death for the unvaccinated
Right.
and the horrible people who do this and that. It's like, oh this is bad.
So yeah, so that was, and they were like so mad about doing school today because I mean we're on vacation, but seeing as I had meant to like plan a little bit of something and then time got away from me and I didn't, I was like, this is a great activity. It counts for history. I mean, we talked about a ton of stuff,
Right.
but man, kill me. Severe illness and death to everyone. Thanks for watching us. But anyway.
Gosh.
So I have been out of the loop because we left. So on Friday we had co-op, and co-op is going great. That's another thing that's going on in my life. It's going great. My crochet class, the first week was terrible. Nobody could do a magic ring crochet, which is very important when you're making those animals. And so the co-teacher and I were like, oh gosh, what do we get ourselves into? But last week was really, really great. And then my knitting class, they are killing it, and I am so proud of them. And because the first week was also like, oh good Lord, what have I decided to do? And then this past week I was like, yes, like they all were able to knit a square, a garter stitch square, and then I sent them home to knit a stockinette stitch square. So hopefully when they come back they will have it. We'll see. But yeah, those are the big things in my life. I have not watched news. I have no idea what's going on. Oh, that's why I was talking about co-op, because Friday co-op days are really long for us, so I don't see any news. Saturday we were driving, Sunday we were driving, and my kids have watched TV here. I have not turned on the TV. I'm on vacation. The world is apparently going to hell in a handbasket, and I am here drinking beer. Actually, it's usually wine, but my husband said, hey, want to split a beer with me? And I wasn't going to say no, so.
It's like, hey.
Beer, sure. Wine, sure. Like I said, my biggest plans are going in the pool. Can you guys see it? You see it? It's all blue and shiny back there. You can't see me, but you can see the pool. That's really what matters. So,
well, it is pretty dang idyllic because I'm looking outside to like it's been snowing on and off, and we had to shovel yesterday, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah. I heard we're getting 9 inches tomorrow at home, so when we come home, we'll be shot right out of this beautiful scene.
Right.
But it's funny. I sent Anne some
digging your way in.
Yeah. I was sending Anne pictures of my kids swimming and stuff, and she sent me a picture of the barren landscape, and I'm like, yeah, it's nicer here. But that's okay.
Sorry, I'll try not to be too jealous. You have a good time.
79 degrees in Georgia today. Yeah, and it's going to be into the mid 80s by this afternoon here. So perfect weather for vacationers. My father-in-law, who lives here, is mad because he's like, it's always so hot when you guys come. And we're like, but it's perfect. We went to the beach. We went on this really cool tour yesterday. Saw like a bajillion alligators. Did I send you those pictures? You saw them on Instagram.
I saw them on Instagram, yeah.
Yeah, so Anne sometimes gets extra because, you know, she's my BFF forever. So
that's right.
My best friend forever. So there you go. So
anyways, so far away from the glories of Florida.
I know, right?
But anyways, so news this week. I mean, you said that, you know, like, well, I haven't been paying attention to the news. The news is heckin' confusing.
Really?
Yeah, because I mean, so starting with Canadian news, which is much more cold and miserable. But it's kind of back and forth there because so through the emergency powers thing, which passed, and it actually passed in their, not the legislature, the Parliament, that's the one. Sorry.
I didn't know you had one. I just guessed.
There you go. I'm trying to remember the Westminster system here. Anyways, that passed, and then everyone's bank accounts are being frozen. That you have one of the leaders of the protests, Tamara is her first name. Yes.
I just want to say that when the coin shortage thing started happening due to COVID, and everybody's like, "Oh, it's fine. It's no." This is why they want you all electronic. Just FYI.
Exactly.
Just so you know. Okay. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Exactly. And yeah, this is why they want us all electronic. There's a Canadian banking system. Like, this is a really great time for everyone to set up like your digital ID. And they have this sort of fruity music in the background. So you think it's happy. I'm like, no. But at the same time,
That's what I think about their digital ID.
yeah.
Sorry, Anne, I'm unruly today. I apologize.
Hey, that's okay. But at the same time, I mean, we have this problem with digital ID, bank accounts being frozen in Canada. One of the big ones that they're talking about is that there was a lady, she's a single mom. She donated $50 to the Freedom Convoy and her bank account was frozen, which creates retroactive crime because it was not a crime to give money at the time before they were declared anything horrible, which they weren't. But still, at the time, she could give money and her bank account was frozen and there is no recourse for that. There's nobody you can call. There's nothing. And also that the Canadian government deputized the banks. The government doesn't have power to freeze your bank account for no reason, but they told the banks, and you can't sue the banks for it. Okay. And
dude, but that's messed up. The retroactive thing.
yes.
That's very scary territory because you could have done something 20 years ago that all of a sudden they don't want you to do anymore, and now you're effed.
Right.
Like, for real.
No, and not even that. It's like, okay, what if you're friends with somebody and it's like, and then later they do something horrible? Are you going to like get into some problem for retroactive connections? One guy, and
Say the people who don't know that I do this in my spare time will be real surprised when I become a criminal.
well, I'm sorry that I don't remember the name of the guy, but he was another organizer of the Freedom Convoy, and Mark Stein had him on his show, and he was talking about this, that his bank account was frozen, everything under his name, his wife's account, I don't believe was frozen, but they sent her a warning. Basically, anyone with his last name. Also, his ex-wife got a warning about it, like, oh, well, we're not shutting down your bank account, but it's an issue. And he has a problem because he has a son with his ex-wife, and his son has a lot of health issues. So the person who delivered the medication for their son said, by the way, you owe this much money because his card bounced and he wasn't, so he, because his bank account is frozen, could not send money for his sick son's medication. And yeah, and so it has been announced, oh, by the way, we're not freezing bank accounts anymore because everyone's pulling their money out of Canadian banks. But that doesn't make that power just magically go away. Like, even if they're like, well, we're benevolent dictators and we've decided that it's not, we're not going to do this anymore. No, this needs.
Dude, this is the loving left. This is the loving left taking care of their people so wonderfully. For real.
From those horrible, nasty truckers that they beat in the street. And there's pictures of guys with bullet marks. Yeah.
It was awful. The way they were treating people was awful. And I know that police are following orders and stuff, but if you felt good beating up a person who was peacefully protesting, then you have personal issues. I'm just, you know.
Right. I mean, there's video out there, somebody hassling a woman for her phone, saying, get your phone out of my face, and grabbing it from her. And she's like, hey, can I have it back? No. Or even, I mean, I know the big one was when those two people were trampled by horses, but the Canadian media paid for by Canadian taxpayers, and who Trudeau got favorable coverage from by saying in his campaign that he was going to give the Canadian media more money than the other guy. That media said, oh, well, someone threw a bicycle in front of a horse. It was the lady's walker.
Yeah. It was a rollator. It was not a freaking bicycle.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's pretty outrageous. But yeah, so anyways, they're saying that emergency powers are going to be taken away, knock on wood. But at the same time, Ontario shuts down 39 trucking businesses involved in the Freedom Convoy. So, you know, there's kind of back and forth there. But yeah, so that's gonna keep watching that one. But I mean, it's still outrageous in Canada, and we haven't talked about Australia for a while, and it's not as if it's all sunshine and roses there too. That's one of the difficult things. I mean, like, so much going on in this week. Good morning. Sorry. I'm getting distracted by the good morning from Aussie living in California. But there's so much happening this week, but it's very hard to get kind of a clear picture. Like the Ukrainian issue, it's okay. Basically, nobody talking about the Ukraine on TV really knows anything about the Ukraine, myself included. Okay, so let's.
Well, and a point for you is that you're not on TV, so there you go.
Right.
You're just some person on YouTube talking what you think. So
right.
You're not a journalist.
No, but that's the thing, though. It's oh, this is about the Ukraine and that about the Ukraine, and I'm like, look, guys, Russia are not good guys, and Ukraine aren't really good guys either. It's the first and the second largest countries in Europe attacking each other. And Putin, says that, oh, well, this area is independent. And he had just an outrageous statement. It's that he's announcing a special military operation for demilitarization and denazification of Ukraine. And he says the Ukrainians are committing genocide. And I'm like, I really don't think so.
That's true.
Yeah.
More information is needed there, please.
Right. And okay, but it's like this whole thing is dumb. But not that it's not concerning for the Ukrainians, but I've heard, that people are just weird stories back and forth. At first, that Russia is only hitting military targets, which is great, but I've heard from, again, friend of a friend, so how reliable that is, but in Kharkiv, that residential areas were bombed, that there was people being evacuated, but they were smiling, which is weird, and just back and forth stuff like that, where,
I'm pretty sure I'm always really excited when I get evacuated from my home and have to leave everything behind, and yeah, it's always a good time.
I know. It's like, didn't like this crappy house anyways. Thanks, Putin. Like, what is this? But yeah, that you have these sort of weird power struggles, and I've heard it described that, parts of the Ukraine kind of think of themselves as parts of Russia. So maybe some people are happy with it and some people aren't, but it's a weird thing. And like I said, Putin's not a good guy, but could all this have been avoided? Probably. But the American response and the response from other European countries is so like, oh, well, we won't take anything from Putin. Like, oh, well, you said he was going to invade last Wednesday, and he was like, nah. Well, I guess, if you say so. And we've had this weird, like, oh, well, he's so horrible, but at the same time, we haven't had anything prepared for this except weird sanctions. And then Germany is saying, oh, yeah, we're really tough on Russia. We're going to stop that pipeline for oil. Yeah, when there's 3 other pipelines for oil still coming to Germany, well, you stop one. That's so helpful. And that all into another issue. That goes into the whole green energy thing, where oil is one of Russia's few exports, and they export a lot of it. So at the same time, if that all these other countries are like, oh yeah, we're really committed to green energy, but their entire country runs on Russian oil. Well, if you've had your own energy company, then you wouldn't have to worry about Russia. No, we couldn't have things like coal or oil here. We're so clean that our energy comes from out of sight.
Yeah, I heard that a lot of the problem, and this is something that my father told me while we were talking today, so I could be totally wrong, but that a lot of the issue is that Russia was getting worried that the Ukraine was going to join NATO. Mm-hmm. And he was saying that all it would have taken was for people to be like, no, we're not going to let Ukraine in. And it would have like de-escalated a lot of this tension because, Russia really doesn't have a great economy. It doesn't really have a lot going for it. And then if it was surrounded by all these NATO nations, that's not a good deal for it. So, he's trying to protect his interest. But, freaking Kamala was out there yesterday talking, and she just put words into a sentence that didn't mean anything. And that was her quote. These are the people that are running us. Just words.
I know, just like rambling, like teacher called on you and you're like, what? You know, that it's like, oh, well, Putin's really afraid now that Kamala, well, I've never been to Europe, Paris.
Yeah. I just had to put this up because Mr. Putin has made a serious miscalculation. He forgot he's no longer dealing with Trump. Yeah, because if he was dealing with Trump, he wouldn't be doing this shit.
That's
Just
right.
People just don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was kind of an arrogant butthead, but on the other hand, he got he got results. And here's another good one. She's the master chef of word salad. So there you go, girls.
Right?
Didn't mean to interrupt you, but I just...
No, that's fine, because it really is all nonsense. Like, oh yeah, Putin's really shaking in his boots, and that is why. Again,
because who would be terrified of us anymore? Nobody. Nobody is scared of us because everybody knows that Biden... My father-in-law was just talking about when he crapped his pants when he was visiting the Pope. I mean, people know this stuff is going on. How can you be scared of him or his administration?
Right. Yeah, it's like, yeah, he really like exudes strength and confidence. The guy who yells and then creepy whispers into his mic. Like, yeah, this is our strong leader.
Right?
That's right. You leave that dead dog on the porch of Moscow. You'll show them.
You're funny. Okay, so Puddinhead Joe and his team of babysitters, for real. It's just an extension of Obama's crap that they were doing, except like on steroids. So
right. And after all, I mean, Putin invaded Crimea under Obama, but I don't think like at the time, I don't think they made it as much of a big deal about it as they do now, which I don't know. It's interesting. It's very much a, everybody ring the panic alarm about this. Not that necessarily you don't, but also it's kind of weird that the focus is on it. Like we had the big, like okay, so, not to bring everything back to World War II, but what brought us out of the Great Depression? World War II. And I don't think that this conflict is enough to it's like, oh, well, will this conflict bring us out of COVID world? No, I think this is just going to be doubling down on the nonsense. That you have a lot of countries that are like, oh, well, we're opening up, and oh, well, that. Well, right, they're already starting with the reason that we have shortages is because of this horrible conflict with Russia and the Ukraine. And
it was because of the truckers. Now it's because of Ukraine?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm glad I'm up to speed.
Oh, of course, it's the Ukraine now, and the Canadian truckers, those horrible, selfish people. And that is why prices are going up and it's difficult to get things. And I said before about, hearing somebody at a store say, oh, well, are there shortages because of the Canadian truckers? And just like, this has been going on.
3 months ago when I was just talking to my father-in-law about how at Christmas time I couldn't get cream cheese to make one of my appetizers I always make because there was no cream cheese. That had nothing to do with truckers or Ukraine, just FYI.
Right. And I don't know, it's like a weird retroactive history, like, oh, so were you not paying attention until this point? But at this point, you said, oh, this is the reason why we're having issues. That doesn't make any sense. And it's kind of, again, the bringing out all of the tired cliches, but it is true. World War II, now 1984, because that was a big thing, that you have the three factions of the world who are basically the same in perpetual war with each other. So you could say, oh, well, why don't we have basic things like razor blades? Why don't we have this commodity or that commodity? Well, it's because of the war, of course. And yeah.
No, the whole thing is messed up. And, friends, if you have not actually read 1984, I would say just don't do it because at this point in time, it's way too close to reality and you're just going to be so sad. Everything is just going to be awful and sad. So,
Oh well, I would say that you should read it, even though it's
I
depressing.
understand, but my point is that it's really very similar to what was going on now, and it's really horrible. Anyway.
Anyways, but yeah, those are the two biggest news stories this week.
Yeah. Well, what else have we missed? Oh, apparently while I was here, I didn't bring my yarn out. I didn't think of it. I went into the wrong yarn store, guys. I went into the one that made me wear a mask
What?
in Florida.
Wow.
What? Yeah. And I heard that's because they're a bunch of liberals, bunch of flaming liberals that lost a lot of employees over stuff like masks and COVID. And
Yeah.
so that was my bad. Sorry. I can't help it. Things happen. But I don't know what else is going on.
Oh, in knitting news, I almost forgot that that Neil, his Blocked magazine, which the next issue should be coming out soon. So
he was going quarterly. Did he change his mind again?
No, as far as I know, it's coming out because he actually sent me the promo issue, but I haven't seen it yet. Like I haven't opened it and sat down and read it yet. But he sent it to me.
Oh my God! I was supposed to write an article for it, and then I didn't. He must have enough content because he didn't talk to me about it.
But anyways, so yeah, so look out for that when it comes. Here's what I thought. Oh, that the Daily Beast did another knitting article mentioning him, and I don't know, like, look, I mean, yay for the press and everything, but also it was just a nothing burger of an article. It was
nothing, but also she never once said white supremacy or racism in association with it, which I thought was interesting because the Daily Beast is very liberal. And so if she could not find the thread of racism in the magazine, then that tells you something, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, and the last time that she did, or I don't know if it was the same person, I assume it is, because, how many people can cover knitting stories. But, kind of implied that our podcast was horrible and awful, and I was sort of wondering if...
We were mentioned again.
Yes.
In the article.
Yeah, but, I was kind of wondering if it's time to, cash in my free speech union membership and be like, hey.
I think you need to wait a little bit longer. Let's do something to really piss them off first, Anne.
That's what I figured. I'm like, they implied that we were white supremacists, and we're not. And I kind of am like, okay, well, we'll, again, wait until it's really big. But maybe that was the issue with Neil, because him being in England, there's like there's a legal weight to that there isn't for my,
Yeah, American. Over here, they can say most anything about you.
Yeah, pretty much.
And as long as they don't, like, come at you with, like, they can imply that you might be something. As long as they don't come out and scream like, pedophile at you or something, they're pretty covered. So.
Right. But anyways, so basically article and the opposition basically said like, well, I don't even pay attention to it. I'm like, well, that's fine. But,
cool.
It's like,
but they kept saying, keep my name out of your mouth, and then they wouldn't read it and they wouldn't respond to it. So how much weight does that hold? I don't know, man.
I don't know.
But they're mad about something else. Did you know that?
No.
So apparently the website knitting.com was purchased by two white male cis hetero whatever umbrella they fall under. They're two white straight dudes, okay?
Uh-huh.
And apparently what they do is that they find niche markets and they make a brand of, I don't know why my phone is like pulsing. I'm sorry, guys. But so these guys have done this before where they did it with like not outbacking, but like trail stuff. And they find these markets and they create a really great website and they create really great marketing and they capitalize on making money off of whatever it is. And so now all of the liberal crafters are really pissed off about it, because not just that it's these two guys doing it, but it's these two white guys who think that they can cash in on this niche market. And I just think it's really funny. And the guy's like really upfront about it. He's like, yeah, we bought the domain knitting.com for $80,000 and this is what we're going to do. And we're going to, over 12 months, we expect to make X amount of money. And by the end of 5 years, we expect to make 7.8 million or something. I don't know, whatever it is. And they have just lost their ever loving minds. And they're like, we all need to band together and not support this and stuff. And, you know, they think that they can get these knitting items that we don't have and that we're like dumb people who don't. I don't know, if somebody comes out with a knitting item and they don't call me a white supremacist, I'll look at it.
You mean like a website that actually is in it to make money and not to just tick off its user base for no reason?
Yeah, I'm about that because I like capitalism. And if you're not going to call me names, I'm more likely to buy from you.
Right. You mean just like a straightforward, reasonable website that doesn't have any specific agenda to push, just wants to, you know, put out its products and have everyone buy it?
Yeah.
Wow. But anyways.
So it was just funny to me because it's just one of those things where they're like, oh, these horrible people who are, you know, using capitalism and they want to make money off of knitting. I like making money off of knitting. I'm not sad when I sell a pattern.
If like, no white man has owned a knitting website and made money off of it before,
I think that you might be lying.
Maybe.
I can think of one, but they're no longer a man, so maybe that's why it's okay.
Well, and the day before yesterday, it was a white heterosexual man who made a lot of money off a knitting website. But that is not so anymore, apparently.
Right. So it's fine, whatever, man. But dude, this whole thing is just so nonsense, and I don't even know what to do about it. So, hey, friends out there in internet land, does anybody have anything they want us to talk about? Because Ann and I have run out of topics. Mr. and Mrs. Elkins from Webs, I don't know who they are.
Oh, but Webs is yarn.com. So yarn.com, knitting.com.
Yep.
Otherwise, I mean...
You mean
Sorry,
what?
Otherwise, I was going to say that we can wrap up early. Because like I said, it's very difficult to get sort of a thread on the news of the week. It's a lot coming at once.
Morgan says that they just came in. Well, what do you want us to talk about? Come on. I mean, I can talk more about, yesterday we went to this thing called Babcock Ranch Eco Tours, and it is this giant ranch, and they used to do these, they used to breed crack cattle, which is called crack cattle because they crack those cracker whips at them. Okay. Those cracker whips that we're not allowed to use anymore. But it was the coolest thing. It's got swamps in it and all different things, and we saw alligators, and we saw, okay, first off, I got to touch an alligator, which I never expected to do. It was a tiny baby, like this big. But anyway, but one of the pictures I posted on Instagram is a mom, and it has all of its babies on its back. Like, blow that thing up and look at it, because I did not know alligators did that. Their babies get on it and like chill. I mean, like any other animal, but I just had no idea. So that was cool. And we saw little piggies and cattle and all kinds of weird birds and turtles and lots of fun. The whips that Canadian Mounties use on Indigenous could be the same. I'm not sure. I do know that they're the same ones that they were using at the border, where they said they were hitting people with them when they weren't. They were just cracking them. But, you know, whatever. Janine says that her school's not masking anymore. That must be nice. You know that Hochul, she extended the mask mandate again until April 22nd because there's no science that supports it, and there's no reason, but she is a slave to the union, the teachers union, so there you go.
Yeah.
You know, it's just sense.
Israel is saying that after March 1st, you don't have to have a vaccine to go into their country. You need to be tested at the wazoo.
Right.
Which is pretty amazing because, I mean, they are very
one of the first ones, right? Who were, they were pushing it in the very beginning. Mm-hmm. That's crazy. Yeah. So, but I just don't Hochul. Well, we know Hochul is trying to get her people. And for people watching who don't remember, Hochul is New York State's governor who replaced Andrew Cuomo when he was set free for his misconduct. She's worse. She's so much worse. But if you had any question about where she stood on things, we now know that she is absolutely in the teachers union pocket, because the teachers union in New York said that they will not stop masking until there is no transmission, which will be never.
Yeah.
So that's a bunch of crap. And the fact that she's extending it with no scientific reason to is crap. Mm-hmm. Just so you know. Susie said that she's hoping that Australia does the same thing that Israel's doing, because she hasn't been able to see her relatives in years. Mm-hmm. That stinks.
Yeah, I mean, right now, it was tearful families reuniting from Australia, and that was with a vaccine mandate still.
Yeah. But what's happening in Canada is a perfect example of this. People are seeing through the lies that we've been fed for all these years now, and they're not going to take it. So Canada was making progress, right? And so now they have decided that they are going to go after these people and take away their money and take away everything, because it was working. And so they are ruling through fear. And that's the only thing. They've been able to do it just using media and stuff. But now that people are starting to wake up, they are doing it more. You know what I mean, Anne, right? Like,
right.
They're doing it.
No, and it's weird too in Canada that's the back and forth with clearly there's enough pressure on Trudeau right now that his mandates that hit the Emergency Power Act specifically, that he's like, oh, by the way, his not his vice president, but second in command was like, we should have the Emergency Powers Act permanently, like the charming person she is. But at the same time, it's like, oh, no, we're going to stop the Emergency Powers Act right now, that there's enough problems, But at the same time, like I said, that it's that they're backing off enough, but they still came in like jackbooted thugs for peaceful protesters,
Yeah.
So it's.
And I want to know where that level of intensity was when Black Lives Matters were burning shit down.
Of course.
Why are we running over a woman with a rollator walker when we were allowing people to actually burn down our cities? And if that's not something that makes you angry, then there's something wrong with you.
Right.
The fact that people are okay with this is terrifying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's amazing the amount of people who still, that you have mainstream media sources. Here we have places like CNN. There they have, the state-controlled Canadian media, that it's like, oh, well, the media said they were horrible, so that's okay. Like I was watching a news report from Canadian media, and like I said, one of the head freedom protester ladies, her first name is Tamara. I don't remember what her last name is, unfortunately. But she was arrested without bail. And it's like, oh, well, she is horrible. And there was a guy called Pat King, and he did a lot of Facebook Lives about the convoy. And he's also been arrested. It's like, oh, well, he has said horrible things. It's like, would you like to quote these horrible things?
Yeah, please tell me what they are. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. They, like I said, you said that a lot of it's Canadian government TV, and they still can't keep the narrative going even with that, and that's their problem. And that's why they need the Emergency Act. That's why they have to scare people into doing what they need them to. That's why they have to bribe people into getting the jab. Mm-hmm. They were going to schools in a city nearby me saying, oh, when you get your first shot, you get $50. When you get your second shot, you get $50. Well, they were going into inner city schools. That's a lot of money for people.
Yeah.
That's a lot. I would be thrilled to have a random $100 for not much reason. But what are you going to do?
Right.
Like, you just can't control people, and I don't get it. Apparently, her name is Tamara Litch, just so you know. And I have not seen any Pat King, but I guess you guys like him. But it's just, we've just hit this part where people, they're going to, I think part of the problem from the pandemic, everybody says the Great Reset, everybody said it may have been the plan. It didn't work out the way they wanted it to, but they've gotten enough taste of a power that now it's going to be hard to get it back. I mean, when you can say you can't leave your house, you can't take a walk, you can't let your dog, like, that's a high. People like get off on that, and so they were able to do it to the entire world. Do you think they're going to give that up?
Right. And I mean, a little back and forth on the Great Reset too, that on one hand, I think there's a lot of people who are like, wow, this is some bad crap. You know, let's move away from this as much as possible. But on the other side, it's like, I don't know. It's sort of a difficult back and forth.
Yeah. I don't know, man. So, is there anything else that you guys wanted us to give our opinions on? Our unsolicited opinions on anything?
Right.
Because otherwise, I'm going to go have another beer.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a good friend. So we're on the Gulf side of Florida. And we have a good friend that lives near the border of Georgia. And he's going to come down and we're going to grill steaks and we're going to swim. And I'm going to have another few beers. Just enough to have a good time, not anything crazy.
Right.
My father-in-law's like, drink. And I'm like, dude, do you know how old I am? Like, I can have like 3 and I'll be good. But
before we go, and not to add more misery. I mean, it's a back and forth, like, enjoy your vacation. I don't mean to come in and add worries to it, but Susie O was talking about the bank, about government taking money. Okay, so another issue that we have with the whole banking thing is that there are still like laws on American books that the government can come in and seize your gold, that they did that under FDR. So, and there's also weird laws about, and a lot of this is about the war on drugs. Yay, because that one's worked out, is that police agent, if you have suspicious amounts of cash, the police can grab it from you and it's difficult to get back. So yeah, we're kind of screwed from both ways.
Yeah. What I was going to say about that, though, is because in one of my prior lives, I was a bank teller. I've had a lot of weird jobs in the past.
Right.
And if you go in and take your money out, if you take out more than $10,000, they report you to the government. And if they notice that you are taking out a lot of money, and it's suspicious, they'll report you to the government. So just be aware of that.
Yeah. So
and
yeah,
I had to do it before, where I had to fill out the forms and the person knew about it, understood it was fine. I mean, I was a banker 20 years ago. Wait, no, not that long. I couldn't have been 20 years ago, but like 15 years ago. So it was a while ago. But yeah, so just be aware of that, because I have a pretty substantial bank account because we got, I don't know if you know, Ann, but people who have kids got their child tax credit, like in checks of $500 throughout the year. Mm-hmm. So I have a bank account with all the money from the child tax things because I use it to pay for our schooling.
Right.
And so I'm starting to think like maybe I should at least take some of that out so that I have it. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a difficult thing, but I mean, of all the things that we should be worried about and hopefully repealing with government overreach, it's some of the old rules on the books that need a looking at too.
Right.
Because this is all coming to a head now, but there is a lot of setup that would be harmful for us.
Yeah. Katie had a nice little she said, you know, just give cash back every time you go shopping. That's what she used to do. I mean, I don't, it's this weird situation we're in because I'm not sure how much money is going to be worth anyway in the future. So is it worth hoarding it? I mean, we're going to have like wheelbarrows full to buy a loaf of bread. So guys, I hope you know how to make a loaf of bread. I can make it. It's not that great, but you know, you got to do what you got to do. So, I don't know. I don't know the answer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's difficult. But anyways, all that to say,
I love my bread machine. I don't have a bread machine. I like to knead bread because I've got bingo arms. Oh, they don't look so bad here. I should live in Florida. Everything looks better. No, it's funny because we were talking to the kids about living here, and I mean, it's February, and I'm sweating sitting here. And they were like, no, we like to visit. We want to go home. We like our house. We like our, and it's kind of like, well, guys, we might end up being here anyway. Sorry.
Right. Kids, you don't know what you're talking about.
Well, it is what it is, you know. But
anyways, so let's wrap it up.
Anne wants to get away from me.
Hey.
She doesn't miss me or anything. I don't even understand. No.
Anyways.
Sorry. Yes. I was gonna say. I don't know. I got nothing. Sorry.
Okay. I was just going to repeat again to check out Chicken Lady Fiber Arts. Again, PIK Valentine 20 for 20% off your yarn order. She has band booked colorways with, she has one called Snowy Day. So exactly the opposite of where you are right now.
Yep.
And she has, like when she shows it off, it's, you know, one in a regular yarn hank and one in mohair, and it's very pretty.
Very
with little speckles in it. But yeah, anyways, check her out. Sign up for her newsletter. She promises not to spam you. So
she's really good about not spamming you. It's only a couple a month. And once in a while, like an extra one will sneak in there when there's something really important you got to know. So it works out pretty well.
But yeah, check out our sponsor. And yeah, and check us out on YouTube, Rumble, Instagram, Facebook, MeWe, Parlor. We're not really on those, but we are on those. Vero. I'm on Getter. We're not yet signed up for Truth Social, but that one's coming up.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. But yeah, find us wherever your favorite place is. And if you don't find at least our names there, send us a message because we'll get on it. Doesn't mean we'll use it, but we'll get on it. And so, yeah, this is in lieu of our Saturday episode because I am going to be driving back to New York, unfortunately, over the weekend. So there will be no Saturday episode. This was it. And I hope you guys have a great week, great weekend. And we will see you guys next week. Thanks for joining us.
All right. Bye.
Bye.